With Karate Kid Legends coming out this week, I finally got to see the 2010 Karate Kid movie. The movie with Jackie Chan being introduced as Mr. Han, who's coming back to reprise the role in the new Karate Kid film. This is the one that was directed by Harold Zwart and stars Jaden Smith as the new Karate Kid. I had not seen this movie because, and this is going to go into reflections on this movie now versus when it came out. I didn't see this movie because when I first saw the trailer for it back in 2010, I saw it as a soulless remake of something that didn't even need to be remade. I was pretty sick and tired of classic 80s movies getting remakes. I was really, really burnt out on it. I mean, I've talked in the past on this channel about those Disney live action remakes and how much I hate them. And so when this movie came out, I can't speak for the greater Karate Kid fandom, but I just didn't care. And to be honest, most of the reviews I saw, which really were from people, I didn't go out reading reviews, people I spoke to about the film were telling me that it was good, but it wasn't as good as the original, or it's not really worth watching. Now, this has changed because we now know that originally this film was supposed to be a reboot in a totally different universe from the Miyagi-verse. However, that has changed. It's been retconned into being part of the Miyagi-verse. So these events did take place in the same universe of Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso and Mr. Miyagi. And that all gets tied together officially in the new Karate Kid Legends movie. So this film takes place in China. In fact, the whole story, because they took the basic outline of the old Karate Kid and just changed the setting. If you remember, in the old Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio's character, Daniel LaRusso, moves from the East Coast to the Valley and ends up meeting a girl, dealing with bullies, meeting an older Asian man that taught him the martial arts and how to play self-defense, how to protect himself against the bullies, eventually leading to a tournament where he would prove his worth. That's the basic plot of the original Karate Kid, and the bond between the Miyagi character and the Daniel LaRusso character. It's like a father he never had and the son that Miyagi wanted, because we know that his child died along with his wife many years ago. So they both kind of completed each other, and that was a real powerful thing. This movie takes it to a new level where Jaden Smith, who plays Dre, his mom has moved from America to China. Very controversial country in the news nowadays, but she moved out to China, and he has to get acclimated not just to a new environment like, oh, I'm not at home anymore, but he has to get acclimated to a whole new culture, a different language, and try to fit in. This movie was targeted towards the Chinese market, and so because of that, you've got a situation where they really honed in on the world that is like what China was like. Now, I do want to tell you that the cinematography in this film is beautiful. It really looks great, and I do want to also say that the fight scenes, the choreography of the actual fights, especially the tournament, is outstanding. I'm actually willing to tell you straight up that when it comes to pure spectacle, the actual combat in the tournament in this Karate Kid is better, flashier, and more impressive than that of the original Karate Kid trilogy. However, much like comparing prequel lightsaber fights to original trilogy lightsaber fights, the older stuff has more heart. So ultimately, there are technical things that this movie did better, but when I watched it, I wanted to kind of learn about the Mr. Han character before the new Karate Kid comes out and learn what I can, being somebody who loves Jackie Chan. I just never got around to seeing this movie. And after seeing it, I have to say that, man, this movie, it wasn't a shot-for-shot remake of The Karate Kid, but it was a beat-for-beat remake. I mean, it's not just Kid goes to a new area, meets a girl, gets bullied. Old man shows him martial arts. They went even further. There's an evil sensei who has taught the bully kid the wrong way. Mr. Han basically says the same thing Miyagi says, except with different, no, with a different sort of he basically says there's no such thing as a bad student, just a bad teacher. Almost word for word. I say different, but a lot of it was almost word for word. In fact, the rival school, there's one part of the movie where the Jaden Smith character and Mr. Han, so Dre and Han go to that school, and then Dre sees that the bully kid is already there, and it's the same exact thing that happened to Daniel LaRusso when he and Miyagi went to the school. It's the same thing. I mean, it wasn't just a remake or a story in a different universe. It was almost the same movie. And that, to me, docks a lot of points. I think it does. It even got so... I remember, I had never seen this before. It even got so silly that the villains were saying no mercy. Like, they were even using the dialogue of the villains of the original Karate Kid. So they can sit there and say, yeah, now it's retconned into being part of the Miyagi-verse, but it just doesn't make sense that these two events happen in the same universe and they're this close to being, the same. I mean, it even got to the point where the Mr. Han character, and this is something you don't find out till like the late second act of the movie, the Mr. Han character had his own demons he struggled with. Remember, Miyagi gets drunk and he's depressed about the past. Same thing happens to Mr. Han. So it's just, so similar. He's also a handyman like Miyagi. I was expecting that maybe he had a different job or, there were some differences, but no, it was really, really close. The bullying was different. There's no beach scene here, but there's a scene similar to it. I've never been to a Chinese beach. Maybe the city they were in doesn't have one. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Chinese geography all that well. But I do want to say that the fact that I'm watching the same movie over again did knock points. And what helped the movie, besides the aforementioned choreography, is, first of all, I got to talk about how much I like the music in the movie. There's the actual songs in the movie, like Scream 2010. That's not what I'm talking about, because you're not going to top on the music from the original film, especially the pop songs. You're just not going to top it. But the James Horner did the background music, the soundtrack, and I thought he did a great job in capturing the spirit of the original Karate Kid, but bringing it to a modern perspective. Like the themes that are in it feel like they belong in the Karate Kid. Now, Jackie Chan carries this movie. People say that Pat Morita's Miyagi is the heart of the original Karate Kid, and this followed suit with that too, because Mr. Han is the most likable character, the most interesting character, and the one that you really you care more about him than you do the Dre Parker character. Look, I don't have anything against Jaden Smith. The Smith family is weird. I mean, that's all I'll say about it. They're kind of a weird family. But he didn't try to emulate the Ralph Macchio performance, but Dre Parker is just not as likable as Daniel LaRusso. He gets beaten up and you do feel bad for him and you do want him to get his. But there are parts of the movie where he comes off very whiny, and for some reason the way that he came off just came off more annoying than even the performance from Ralph Macchio as the Karate Kid in the original. Because remember, there's an arc here. It's a coming of age story. He goes from boy to man thanks to Miyagi being his father figure. Mr. Han doesn't quite get to the point of being father figure. They do sort of keep it more like sensei student in this version. But I still think that I never connected with the Dre Parker character. It just never really connected with me. You know what I mean? He just didn't really, he's lacking that vulnerability that Ralph Macchio showed in his performance. But if Jaden Smith were to come back for future iterations of this franchise, which he may because Will Smith is still a producer, then I wouldn't be against that either. Also, Taraji P. Henson, who's been in so many movies I've seen, plays the mother, the Sherry, who is basically the Lucille LaRusso of this universe, and she comes off a little bit more likable than even Dre. Like, I was kind of rooting for her, but it does kind of get old with how much she's glossing and how much, what's the word they use nowadays? Glazing, not glossing. It gets old that she's glazing China so much. Like, I know China's probably a beautiful country and there's probably a lot of good stuff out there. A lot of, the culture's probably nice, but the glazing, man, come on. She got more screen time than Lucille LaRusso did, but it wasn't always used to the best of its, abilities. Now, overall, the movie, I enjoyed this movie more than the next Karate Kid. However, to me, it's a one and done. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to have a reason to watch this again. I really like the maturity that Jackie Chan brings to the character, but there are so many Jackie Chan films that I would put above this one, like going Operation Condor, Rumble in the Bronx, going back to City Hunter. I mean, the guy's got a library of great movies, right? And this one, like, he carried this one, but to me, it's just not. There's no reason I would ever go back and watch it. Now, I will say this. When you finish this movie, if you want to watch it, seek out the deleted alternate ending. There's an alternate ending to this film where the Mr. Han character gets into an actual fight with the evil sensei. And that was cut from the film probably because they thought it was too silly, because it does really come off like a Jackie Chan fight. I mean, they're sitting there using benches and stuff like that, like it's over the top. But I enjoyed it so much. If you're a fan of Jackie Chan and you don't want to see this movie, but you like Jackie Chan, maybe just seek out that clip. It's on YouTube. Just type in Karate Kid 2010 alternate ending. It's about 3 minutes or so. And it's a really well choreographed fight scene, but I think it would have been a bit too much. It would have probably gotten a pop in the crowd from Jackie Chan fans. You have a smile on my face when I watched it. But still, I get why they cut it out, because really the story is about the Jaden Smith character and his arc of getting rid of these bullies, standing up for himself, and being the best around, at least in China. So, but I have no reason to see this movie ever again. Like I said, it just repeats too many of the same plot beats, but I don't regret watching it. It's just not a film that I'm going to be going back to, since I have the original, and the original, no matter what, has more heart. The Pat Morita, Ralph Macchio chemistry, and in some ways, even the Kreese and Johnny Lawrence chemistry, including what you get. No, well, it wouldn't. What I meant to say was like is William Zabka and Martin Kove, their chemistry when they brought these characters to life, I think was a bit more powerful than the evil master in this one. But I will say this: the bully in this movie, Chang or whatever, he, I think, is much worse than Johnny Lawrence. Like, this kid is straight up cruel, dude. Like, Johnny Lawrence actually had a wonderful redemption arc in Cobra Kai, and you understood how things were from his perspective. But this kid, I'm not saying he can't be redeemed, but Johnny Lawrence was always sort of, he had his own group of fans, and he was always respected even by the people who love Ralph Macchio and his, Daniel LaRusso. But man, this kid was a prick. So people are not going to feel the same way about him. You're going to be perfectly fine with him getting his ass kicked at the end of the film. So, yeah. One last thing. In this movie, the martial arts that they do is kung fu, and it's referred to as kung fu in the film. And I know there's people out there that say that, well, it shouldn't be called Karate Kid because it's kung fu. It's just, that's a very lame criticism for the movie. Yes, it is kung fu, but guess what? If you really know about martial arts, you'll know that the Cobra Kai technique, the same one that we saw in the series and in the original film from '84, is actually more taekwondo than karate. The reality is that the word karate for a long time, especially in the '80s, was a synonym for all martial arts. You could go to learn different martial arts, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, judo, any of them, and oftentimes the studio will say, it'll say karate on the banner, because in this country and in English speaking countries, karate is synonymous with martial arts. Bruce Lee has his own style of martial arts, the Jeet Kune Do hybrid style, but those movies are considered karate movies. Like, the word karate is just a synonym. Is it right? No, but to actually point at that and use it as a point of criticism is just so petty. I mean, there are things to criticize about this movie, but the fact that everything's just grouped under karate, yeah, if you're a martial artist, I can understand being annoyed by it, but it's also been this way for decades, and I do think that now the public is a bit more smartened up to it because of the rise of UFC and the fact that karate magazines don't really exist anymore, and people kind of know a lot more about self-defense than we did back in the 80s. That's a whole other thing. Go look up like Joe Rogan BS karate or like Joe Rogan karate magazines, because he talks about it. He talks about how in the 70s and 80s martial arts was mythical, and you would hear about these like things that were just objectively not true in these magazines. Now we're a bit more educated as a society to know more about martial arts and how it works. In fact, even in Cobra Kai, the Sekai Taikai had a number of different martial arts techniques represented, including Taekwondo with Cobra Kai, as well as Capoeira. There was some basic karate. There was all kinds of different techniques. So I'm sorry, bro, but it should be called the Kung Fu Kid. The Karate Kid is the brand, right? Especially now that Mr. Han, and now obviously they didn't know this back in 2010, but now that Mr. Han is part of the Miyagi-verse, and these events did take place in the same universe as the Karate Kid trilogy and Cobra Kai, it's really just not that big of a deal, yo. It really isn't. I recommend, if you've seen the original Karate Kid, prepare yourself for the same story beats. Maybe just go watch the final fight. Maybe. If you're a fan of Jackie Chan's, you'll want to see that clip I told you about, and you'll want to see him carry the movie because he really is the heart of the film. That guy has a special charisma. Anyways, that's my thoughts on karate. I didn't think I would make a video this long about 2010 Karate Kid, but here it is. Have a great Memorial Day. I'll see you guys later this week.